Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dvadasha Manjari Stotram, that is the 12 slokas that Shankara has given, and followed by the other disciples who have added these slokas and all that. And that makes this full of Viveka, this thing, Bhaja Govindam slokas. And the first, these called as the Mohamuddara Stotra. That means they are the stotra which actually talk about this moha. What are the different varieties of way of looking at this moha and comes in the way. Of all these various moha, the highest of the moha is the moha of the knowledge. And therefore that the whole thing gave rise from the point of view of when Shankara came out after the discussions with the Mandana Mishra, when he saw a Brahmin was looking into the aspects of the grammar in the discussions. That's what really touched Shankara's heart. And therefore he said, Mudhamate Samprapte Sannihite Kale Nahina Sakshite Viprakarane. When he talks about Mudhamate, he's not talking about somebody who is illiterate. So it's somebody who is really a erudite scholar. Not only that he is a scholar, but he's also interested in further exploring into the grammar. Then only that somebody is looking into a grammar. It's not an ordinary looking into a grammar, but it is based on one of the very high level discussion that went on. On that he was giving that the discussion that went on for several days, and ultimately that's what Shankara came out. And this Brahmin was looking into the grammar of all the discussion that was going on. That means it's not somebody who has done something which is at a simpler level, but it is the highest level of knowledge that is there. So this Bhaja Govindam we need to put at that level where it is highest level of discussion. Beyond that, we need to carry that. So it's not something which is essentially looking at denying the knowledge. There is another very important thing is that it's not to deny the knowledge. Otherwise, if Shankara was supposed to deny the knowledge, he would not have involved into this particular discussion. And it's not also to defeat that opposite person that he involved in the knowledge in the discussion, but it is something which he has to take it to the higher level. So that means to say the highest level of discussion of knowledge, and the knowledge cannot take you anywhere beyond that. At that level, the Shankara's Bhaja Govindam comes into the picture. So when we look at that way, then it is not the question of denying the knowledge, but it is the question of the transcending the knowledge. Very simple idea is that all the other faculties are the same way. Their intellect is also one of the faculties, supported by all these senses and the information from the senses. And information from the senses is all about the world outside. Intellect works only at that level. And there is something which is beyond that, and that's what is the idea of Bhaja Govindam that he's talking about. And another very important aspect of Shankara, when he says that, it looks many times, many translators looked at all these things from a very negative point of view. That means to say, why child, why this, why that. And it's as if denial of the world outside. It's not the denial of the world. When we look at it, it's much more deeper than that. And that's where this particular culture is something which is extended. If we have to deny the world outside, then Shankara, why did he care for this world? Why did he do all that kind of activity to see that people in this world are benefited by this culture? So that means to say, he cares for this culture, he cares for the people, he cares for this world. All the relationship, all the activities that are there in this culture, That's exactly valuable. But only thing is, it has true value only when all these things will take you to that Bhaja Govindam, transcending the world to something which is higher, deeper. This is something very important, and all other cultures, what they have got beyond this world is only heaven or hell, and there's only something that you die, and afterwards there is heaven. And it looks very utopian, it looks very imaginary. And then they have also given the whole idea that you do so many things that you go to the heaven. You do these things, you go to the hell. Generally, people give the heaven for the some themselves and hell for the others. And some people said that we create the heaven and hell here itself rather than going somewhere else. So, but the idea of the heaven and hell, and that's where it stops. It looks like a very imaginary idea beyond that. Only this particular Bhaja Govindam was the one which shows that there is something which is higher than these things. Normally, that mind can think, imagine, because heaven and hell also belong to the mind. They don't belong to outside the mind. And there are a lot of places where it is said that, hell, all right, even if I'm in hell, after a few days, that when I get used to it, then it is no more a hell for me. Or what is the argument that now I'm not in a hell? Just because that I'm happy, I got used to it. Therefore, I'm happy with this hell I'm around. Maybe that I will find it difficult to be in heaven. So that's why this is good. So all these things are because at the intellect level that these things begin. Bhajagovindam is something, it is going trying to take us beyond that. So in that sense that we try to look at it, see that we don't deny the word, and but then we see the reality, what is behind it. That's what we have seen in the 12th Sutra. दिनमपि अन्ये सायं प्रातः शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः कालः क्रीडति गच्छत्यायुः तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशावायुः भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. There are certain the moths which are there in the during the monsoon. It comes at the time of when you have the light. They're born, they grow, and then they die in 3, 4, 5 hours. Actually, when you are seeing that moth, it will be there flying, and in about half an hour or so, then all the wings are gone. When it takes birth, when it grows to full size, within that, even the wings are gone. Now they become crawling on the earth, and then another couple of hours they can die. So these moths do not see day and night. They only know about night. If you tell them that there is something called as day, then they don't know it because they don't transcend the day and night. Whereas human being transcends the day and night. Not only transcends the day and night, transcends even the seasons. So all these things that we transcend, and not only that we transcend, when we transcend that we are attached to that, we feel waiting for the next to come. Like for example, that's what last time when we met, I was telling about that. The winter comes, all fall, all the trees shed their leaves and all those things. It looks as if that there is totally barren. But the moment that Vasanta comes, that means the spring comes, we don't know where that energy comes from. All the trees bear leaves and then flowers and everything comes up as if something has thrown a magic wand around the nature to see all this system. How wonderful that they are. We had that last season. We had that season before that. Season after season we had. Particularly in places where it is persistent winter, then you come to the spring. It is such a beautiful scene. But then again, that winter comes, people are waiting for the winter, people are waiting for the spring. That means anything in this world is beautiful, but anything in this world can also become like a pain for us. And it can be boring. We would like to come out of it. So this way, that this chain, that Sayam Prataha, early morning is there, and then day is there, and then night is there. This is something season after season that they are there. They are all wonderful, they are very nice, and then we rejoice and we want one to go and the next to come. This is happening. In fact, when you look at it, you are so eagerly waiting for that. You are worse than that moth. The moth is not waiting for anything. The moth is there in the night and then it dies in the night, finished. The day is over. The whole journey is over. And not only the journey is complete. That means to say, whatever that life has to achieve, that moth has achieved. Moth has become big, moth has lived, fly, flew, and all those things with the wings and all that. And at the same time, procreated. Next generation, it leaves with eggs and then dies. So that means to say, in that sense, that they have done the whole journey and they have not seen the day and night. But then we see the day and night, but we are waiting for the next to happen. That means to say, what they are not waiting for, we added one more parameter for that. They are waiting for this to happen. So therefore, then Kaminyo Sayam Prata Shishita Vasanto Punaragat. Come again and again. But then, in spite of the fact they come again, we look for, we wait for, and then we eagerly look, uh, put our whole energy into that particular thing. Kala kriyate gacchati. In this process, what is happening is that Kala, it is the time which is playing with us. And Tadapinam Chit Asha. So in this process, what happens is time is something which is flying away. Every day that passes is a day that has gone away from us. So every day that you become old. So like the way that these things have come and going quality, you also have a come and going quality. And then you are child and then you grow up and then you will be. So this is something which happens even for you. The breath also goes away one day or the other leaves. And in this particular thing, but in spite of the fact that these things happen, we got used to that desiring for change, desiring for something new. So therefore, that we are caught up in that desire. Just like that, we are waiting for the desire for change of the season, change of this, change of that. And slowly it comes to a level change. We desire to change next morning. And not only this one desire that we have, in the process that we pile up our desires so much. So therefore, what happens is the more and more desires that we have, the more and more that we are clinging to the world outside, the less and less we have the freedom from the world outside. It's so beautifully said that if what is mukti or moksha? Mukti or moksha is freedom from these desires. If I don't have a desire, that means every moment I live, every situation I live, is something which is like a celebration for me because I'm one with the life itself. I'm not waiting for something. But I remember when earlier, when I was young and I used to go to my uncle's place and then the little children used to be there. So Saturday, Sunday weekends, I used to spend time with them. I have nice stories, nice play days that they used to love. Wait for the Saturday, Sunday to come. But then once I go, then it becomes like the routine kind of an activity. They miss me. So the moment I go there, they would ask, when do you go back? Idea is not that when I go back, but the idea is that, oh, you are going back after 2 days. So that is what their concern is all about. So you're already prepared that the go back will take place. But the desires are there that I should know, desire will be there, play, the desire is so many things that are there. The more and more desires are there, the more and more we'll be clinging to the life. We don't want the life to go away. That way it is very beautifully said. What is the difference between mrityu and moksha? When the desires die before you die, it is what is moksha. When you die before the desires die, that's what is mrityu. It's not the question of whether you have something or not. In fact, what happens is that we always desire for something what we don't have. We may have abundance, but then we don't look into that. In that, we see one lack, one small little corner where something void is there, and we desire. So therefore, the desire is there as long as the desire is there. And we nurture the desire, we reach the desire. And then we die before the desires die. That's what is mrityu. Mrityu, therefore, is painful. Painful because basically I still want to do something. However much that I do, but still I want. When Rabindranath Tagore was dying, somebody came to him and said that you must be really accomplished. most fulfilled person on the earth, because basically you have written more than 6,000 poems and they are highly acclaimed, and you are such a great poet that the world recognizes you, and you have got a Nobel Prize and all those things that you have done. So you must be totally satisfied at the time of death. Tagore said, what do you mean by satisfied? In fact, I have what I really wanted to write, I have not yet written. Whatever that I wanted to sing, I have not yet sung. All, all this, what I've written, all this, what I've sung, is like the way that the veena, that you set up the tune, you set up the, the notes. And by the time I finish that setting up all these notes, now the time has to come for me to go. So where is the question of satisfaction? So a person who has done so much also still feels that he could have done. Another very beautiful incident about Rabindranath Tagore that is there. Of course, that incident shows a different picture of Rabindranath, how satisfied he was. He always used to, he was a great poet, and right from the beginning he was starting. And then he used to pass by one of his teachers, elderly person who was there, and then he used to pass by his house. And then he said, I'm not yet satisfied with you. See, whatever that he would write, he would do all those things. He would never satisfy his teacher, because he said that the best has to come. It's not yet completely your effort. So every time he was saying that, he used to feel that the whole world is satisfied, but why is not satisfied? Particularly when he got Nobel Prize, he was so happy and came to the teacher and said, I got the Nobel Prize. And then his teacher said, no, not yet. This is all right, good, but then it's not sufficient. The real Tagore is not, Rabindra is not there. So it always used to pain him so much that he would not, many times he would avoid his house, because that moment he goes there, he looks at his face and immediately there is this negativity. One day it so happened that he was in the forest looking into the ocean, into the pool that is there and the flowers and forest atmosphere. All those things that are there, every object of the forest that is there, brings so much of poetry for Rabindranath Tagore, because he lives that art, poetry, everything comes out of it. And that he was watching at that time. Suddenly, that there was a sun. At the same time, there was rain. When in the sun, when there was a rain, he could see the drops of uh, water, droplets of water falling down. It was falling those droplets and then falling on the tips of these grass leaves and all that, and staying there. And then sometime, when he looked at, all that looks like the great play of the Lord. It was so extraordinary for him, it was like a Vishwarupa Sandarshana. What Arjuna had, that's what Rabindranath Tagore had. He said, this really means what is called as the divinity behind. Until now, he never thought that that is something which is like, he always thought that something divinity is there in this and that and that. But here is what we have seen. Everywhere it is nothing but the dance of divinity. And that day, that when he felt so extraordinary, and he came running to this home, and he went to this man, he became so much like a mad person that he was coming running, and then he looked at this man, and this man looked at him, and he laughed and said, Rabindra, today you had that experience. Today you saw something which is extraordinary. I can see that, because all these days your eyes were seeing something what you have achieved. But today your eyes see. Show me, not yet what you have achieved, but what you are. That's what is the divinity. You become yourself that divinity. Ah, he was so satisfied when he saw. And then he went home, and then he wanted to see his master once again. He came back. He said, he's dead. Suddenly, Rabindranath Tagore thought that this man was just living to see me, that ultimate reality. So that experience is something which is beyond all the words, beyond all the others. That's what is Bhaja Govindam. That is there within you, and you'll see that within you. Kate Kanta. So All these changes do occur. It's what is in nature. But only thing is behind that and changing reality. That's what is that. The Venerable saw. That's exactly what we need to look into. Kate kanta dhanakata chinta vatulakin tava nastiniyanta. Trijagati sajjana sangati rinka bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Here, this word Kate Kanta, Dhanagata Chinta, where oh, this Vatulakin, that means to say a discarded one, distracted one, that means to say you're diverted. Vatula means somebody who has lost his path. There's supposed to be a path and you lost the path. That's the right in front of you. And why worry about women? Why worry about wife and wealth? Is there not for you the one who ordains, rules, commands? In the three worlds, it is the association with the good people alone, satsanga alone, that can serve as a boat to cross the sea of change, birth, and death. A very important thing is that, at least in this culture, that we always respected women. We always had the high regard for women. But then there were some places, some other cultures where women is also equated to wealth. And in fact, it is said in Quran and Hadith, and says that whatever that you acquire the wealth, I mean, people used to go, the king used to go and fight a war, and then whatever that you conquer the wealth, and then 1/3 of it, 1/6 of it should be given to Muhammad, and the rest of it you can enjoy. And that wealth, it is said that not only the material wealth, but also women. So women is considered as wealth at those days. They did not think of any soul of women. So women and their wealth is something which is common for them. At least in our case, it is not like that. In our culture, it is not like that. What an unfortunate thing that was. Your own mother is no more a human being. I wonder at the way that what kind of an intellectual has given this idea that a woman is supposed to be your own mother giving birth to you, and she is not a human being. At least you could say that she's a donkey, so that I'm a donkey. That kind of different thing. But not even consider women as a wealth, considering women as a wealth. But here, the idea about Shankara is not with that idea that he talks about women, the wife and the child. Shankara talks about wealth. So both these things are essentially wife is part of your whole life journey that you are doing. And then wealth is a necessary. Both these things are there for the sake of living in this society, living in this world. You can't be parasite in anybody. Our teacher always used to say that anybody who comes to the Vedanta should have his own support. He should not become a parasite in the society. Because he would always see that so many sannyasis going on the street begging. He would feel very sad about it because this sannyasi begging food long time ago that was supposed to be such a highly respected profession. It's highly respected aspect of it because only the people who beg for the food are the students who are in search for the knowledge. They were the people who were begging food. The sannyasis would go to give the knowledge that they take food and stay in their house for about a day or two and then give the knowledge. This was the thing. There was never a question of begging. In fact, a sannyasin comes to our house is supposed to be such a respectable thing. So this was the culture that was there. It's only spoiled, therefore, that our teacher always used to say, Shastriji always used to say that you have to become, you have to, you can't be a parasite of the society. You have to help your life. So therefore, wealth is necessary, and then family is necessary. Therefore, that you create a unit in the world. But then what happens is that they have got purpose, use, necessity, and then its purpose is taken care of. But then what he says is that, hey, you have this for the sake of your setting up a unit in the society and creating a harmony in the society. But why did you get drifted towards that? What is that drifting? The drifting is that 24 hours you're engaged in thinking about how to protect, how to take care of it, how to do this kind of thing. These are things that you are engaged in. So this constant thinking, constant knowledge about worry and about this, these are the things which are really different types of worry about the wife, about the wealth. Horrible. It can really drive somebody into such a mad state. That's what Shankara is worried about. Shankara is talking about. Like the way that your wife is a wife, that is what basically that you are living with. But slowly what happens is it becomes like a possession, as much as like a wealth. And then oh, it becomes such a horrible thing in the minds. And that too in a society where uh, it used to be so, like a friend of mine in England, he's a medical doctor. And his wife is a doctor. Both of them are doctors in England. And then I went to their house as a guest. And he was so suspicious about his wife that when we were driving in the car, normally what happens is that when a guest comes to the house, you always make the guest sit next to you so that you, while driving the car, and your wife sits backside. This is a very common thing. So I was trying to sit next to him. Immediately said, no, 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 my wife will sit next to me and then you sit at the back. Actually, anybody else would have thought it was an insult. But I know that this is a mental state, not an insult for me. And he was so possessive of his wife and so possessive that he would never want to sit her between both of us. All this kind of thing that an Indian practicing in UK, England, what an unfortunate thing it is. And he would come out of the house and then he would lock the door, keeping the wife inside. He would disconnect the phone because she might talk to somebody. My God, 24 hours. Though on one side he's educated as a doctor, he's working as a doctor. But then on the other side, he was such a poor fellow that his whole idea was to see that how to see that how he creates a watchman himself around his wife. And in 6 months, I've seen that she left him and went out. And then actually she came to Bangalore. She was staying here. She wanted her freedom. Because what happens is that you give her freedom so that she will really like you. That is what is it. You bind somebody with the help of love, not by physical aspect of it. The same way about the wealth. Wealth is also the more and more that you care, the wealth is a possession. Then that wealth becomes like more of a pain for you rather than pleasure for you. A time will come when you won't enjoy the wealth, but you are only amassing the wealth. In the beginning, that money was there to give you joy, but later on, and then joy was the interest. Life was an interest. For that, you go for money. But later on, a time will come when money becomes so much important that all the other life aspect of it is gone. You don't have time to eat food. You don't have the time to rest. You don't have to go for anything like that. You have 24 hours caught up the day. Only the money, money. These are the things that happen. I always give an example of a friend of mine in Chennai, and very wealthy man. He invited me those days. I was a bachelor working in the airport. Then he invited me for breakfast. I went there. Early morning, 8 o'clock, when I went there, he was actually counting the 500 rupee note bundles. How many bundles? I said, this is the day's income that he has, previous day's income. That kind of wealth was there. And then I went for breakfast. Probably I would have seen 500 notes in a month. But then he has all that. But in any case, when we sat down for the breakfast, his wife and he were sitting, and then I was sitting there. A nice, wonderful central carousel, all the food items were there. So I picked up my plate and then started serving myself, puri, dosa, idli, and then chutney, this, that, lavish kind of breakfast. And then while I was serving, I looked at them saying that they were sitting quiet. I said, please, you also have. And then he was very polite. He said, smiled and said, Agram, please, you have it. Don't worry about it. But I was feeling embarrassed. Couple of times I said, please, you also join. Otherwise, I could. Wife was very blunt, very clear. She said, he cannot eat these things because that he has cholesterol, therefore he cannot eat that. He has diabetes, therefore he cannot eat that. Is this, is that, is that. So nothing can eat. On the top of the whole carousel, that there are color tablets. That's partial. Ah, I felt bad, and then I asked her, at least you can join me for breakfast. You can take. She very clearly said, I'm sitting here not for breakfast. I'm sitting here to see that he does not touch anything. uh, so she is there sitting there as a watch. Who cares for who? Wife for husband, husband for wife. So wealth has become like that in such a way that it started giving you suffering. So why are you worried about wife and wealth in the sense that they have got their own way? They give the freedom, give the joy of it, so that that will be happening. So therefore, that your whole mental energy is wasted on that. Actually, when you look at it, wealth and the wife are in the sense that whole family, house, everything. Is wealth means all kinds of things are provided to see that your life becomes better, your life becomes better. That's what is the contribution. That's what even the Upanishad says that all these things which are connected with the outside world, they are avidya. Avidyaya mrityum tirtva. That means so basically all that life sufferings that are there is taken away from. You don't have to worry about it. Wealth is there, so you don't have to worry about where you get the next meal. Wife is there, family is there, house is there. You don't have to worry about where you go. So all these things are provided to see that your mind becomes light. Your mind is freed. Your mind is freed from all those things that these things should support you to see that what can you do with this instrument called as the body mind complex to go beyond. And that is what is the purpose of life. So such people who can help us to see that this higher level, this is what is satsanga. So satsanga is the one who takes us beyond this world. Beyond this world is that which can help us to see that how we can continuously get engaged in this kind of thing. Whatever may be the riches, whatever may be the thing that we have, but we should be able to transcend all those things and go ahead. That is what he says that people who see who can take us beyond. That's what Trijagati Sajjana Sangati Rekha. The Sajjana is such a beautiful word. Sajjana are the Jana who remind us about the Sat. Sat is the existence aspect of it. They are in the Sat. Therefore, the moment you are in touch with them, you are in contact with them, their presence, you are reminded of Sat. And such people, there are plenty of them in the society. But then that you need to seek and go. They don't themselves come to you. They are not the person they come to you because they don't want anything. They're always in the state of existence itself. They are one with the Sat. And that is the only thing which can really help you to niyanta, controls. That's something which transcends you beyond. That helps you like the way that can take you, cross you beyond. So what is that which can help you to cross in this world? The house, family, wealth, and all these things and the cycle that we go. One thing that can help us is the Sajjana Sangha. And when he says about Sajjana Sangha, he means that if you are satisfied, if you are enough to satisfy this world, don't get into the rat race, then look for beyond. And that is what is called as Sajjana Sangha. It can be for a king, it can be for an ordinary person, it can be for a householder, it can be for somebody who is highly knowledgeable, it can be somebody who is illiterate. Anybody can find the Satsanga, Sajjana Sangha. And that Sajjana Sangha, Eka, that's the only thing. Bhavati Bhavarnava Tarane Nauka. This Bhavarnava Tarane Nauka is a very beautiful expression which is used in various places in Vedanta. Idea is that however deep may be the ocean, however deep may be the river, but the moment that we are in the nauka, in the boat, then what happens is that it doesn't matter what is the depth underneath, but then you can cross it. So it may be that how deep that I worked with, I was involved in that so many things that are there. It just takes 1 minute for me to think of it that I need to cross it. And these people can cross it so that I can cross it. Therefore, the Sajjana Sangha, it is across the level of all kinds of types of people. It's not the question of only people who have the Vedic knowledge or this or that, or were the rituals. No, Sajjana can be an ordinary person can see that. You can see in him that how easily that he is not part of the world outside. And this hint you will be getting again and again, provided that you should be able to hold on to it. What you are bothered about it, the other person, similar like you, it doesn't bother him. And he can see something which is beyond what you have not seen, beyond in the way of compassion, beyond in the way of serving, helping. These are the people for Sajjana Sangha. That means they can show you something beyond this world, and therefore that they can take you across the world or beyond that. So that's what is the idea. Such people are the people. Kate Kanta, Dhanagata Chinta, Vatulakin, Nasti Niyanta, Trijagati, Sajjana Sangati Reka, Bhavati Bhavarnava, Tarane Nauka. This Trijagati is all the three Jagat. That means to say whether it is the past, present, future, or in the way of that we are planning, scheming, and all those things, or your memory. They also had all kinds of memory, but then they can easily come out of it. Just to give it, and they may have in the present also, they may have a lot of stuff, but they'll be able to easily transcend that. One very beautiful incident that happened, touching incident. We have this Disha Bharat is an organization that we do a lot of value education of the children. It was inspired by there's one saintly person who was there, and then he was the person responsible for this, guided us all the time. It was very nice, and he had a cancer, and cancer was there for almost like 15 years. He had, but then in spite of it, his then what happened was that I was abroad and I came because I heard that he is sick, and therefore I came last minutes that he is in the bed. So myself and my wife Ratna went there to see Krishna Padi, and then he was lying down on the bed. The moment he saw, I could see beautiful smile on his face, in spite of the fact that there were only bones. He had a smile. He said, "Oh, Raghuram, come." Made me to sit down on the bed and started asking the questions, saying that, "Wow, when did you come back? So how was your German trip? How was your this? How was that? How many people you had?" Those things we were talking for the next half an hour. My wife, meanwhile, she said, "Okay, let me go and talk to somebody else." After half an hour, she came back, Navaratna, and then moment she came, she asked me that, "So, how is Krishnapad? Did you find out?" I was so shocked. I said, "I didn't even ask him that question, how are you doing?" Because he was so happy, he was so engrossed in whatever these things are there. It just shocked me. I didn't ask him, "How is he doing?" And I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm lying down like this. I can't move this side or that side because my bones are breaking. And yes, this is the breath, this way that I can breathe." Ah, just so touching scene. And of course, within 24 hours, he died. But look at the way that just before the death, 24 hours before death, he was still only so joyful and sharing and asking me to share what way that the world. So where he says, when you look at it, he's absolutely not at the body level unless somebody asks him how is he doing. It doesn't come to that. Similar situation happened with Lakshmi Auntie and Shanti. I was there by Lakshmi Auntie's side, and Subbu, he gave a talk and came. She was having oxygen mask on her body, her nose. And then she asked Subbu, "So, what is the class you have taken?" And then he said something about that. "Did you talk about this one particular idea?" He said, "Yes." That means to say, even now, she's only worried about she's only concerned about that. She was happy about that rather than looking at her own condition. Actually, she also another 4 hours later she died. But look at such people, that these are the people who are, even if you spend a minute with them, an hour with them, you can see that life can be beyond the level of this body and system. This is what is said. These are the people who take us to across the the ocean that is there. How deep, how suffering. If anybody else would have been there, I was always thinking that they would have said an hour of lecture on about why, where the body pain is there, where this is there, what is this, and cursing God, why he does not take me out? Why does he want me to live in this skeleton anymore? This worry, this thing, all these things will be there. In spite of the fact that they might not talk about family, they might not talk about wealth, but they talk about their own body conditions, and then the suffering. The focus is on the suffering. Focusing is not on the positivity that is there. So this is extraordinary thing that we should learn. And that is when you are able to look at this positivity in this world, then it is called as Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamate. That is the real Bhaja Govindam. And that's what it really indicates. Krishna's life, you look at Krishna's life, how many different difficult sufferings that he went through. In fact, this is what Swami Chinmayananda always used to say, that nobody wants Krishna's life because born in a jail, brought up this way and this and that, and throughout the life, his own people getting killed and this and that, so many things that are. But look at him, how happy he is, how joyful he is. He is actually a dancing God kind of a thing. So one who could keep that, that's what is the message that we need to get. So for that, Bhaja Govindam, that's what is the idea, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Various aspects of Bhaja Govindam. This is one of the important aspects of Bhaja Govindam. To be able to see the positivity all around you, that's what is Bhaja Govindam. Jatilo Mundi Vinchatakesha Kashayam Brahmavisha Pashyannapi Chana Pashyati Mudho Hrudara Nimittam Bahuktavisha Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. It requires a deeper, little deeper explanation, understanding about that. What happens is that there are so many varieties of sampradaya, varieties of ways people approach, and then behind all these varieties, there is so much of research that has gone. All those things are there. Based on that, in this culture and in the other cultures also, because in this culture Shankara is referring to, that various kinds of symbols have been set. Like, for example, that a Kashayambara itself is something which is supposed to be a symbol that somebody is devoted to spiritual life. And then once he is devoted to spiritual life, then actually, naturally, he takes away that his hair and he will have only jata. And there are different types of sampradaya that are there in this world. In fact, Shankara himself has created 10 different sampradayas, Dashanami sampradaya. And each sampradaya has its own way. Apart from that, there is Dvaita Sampradaya, that they have different types of marks on their body, forehead, this and that. Visishtadvaita, they have their own way. And Nagas, they have their own way. And like that, today, all these different sampradayas have different symbols that are there. But then these symbols indicate that for this sampradaya they belong to. And moment you see that symbol, and you see that what is that their basic text, what their basic understanding. Similarly, in these four Shankara Pitas that are there, even these four Pitas also, there are four different sampradayas. One follows Rigveda, another is Yajurveda, third is a Samaveda. So like that, they have different Vedas. So you can recognize by that symbols that what is that they are up to. So that means in the vast thing that is there, you require a few things to identify yourself. It's like the way, a very simple thing is that a person who is in a police dress standing in the middle of the traffic light, we know that he is a police. We have to listen to him. Of course, how many people listen to him? Anybody is supposed to live to the police. So therefore, that there is a particular attire, dress identification. There are certain marks that are there to indicate that what is what. The teacher is supposed to have certain way. The lawyer, the pleader, has to have certain way. That's what is the black book. So like that, each creates a particular line of way of things that are there. Like that, even of all these things that are created in this world, identification, particularly when somebody has to go through the graduation ceremony. You walk on the stage and then some square hat that you will have it, and then photos are taken about it. What is the importance of all that is to see that until that time that you don't have a self-confidence that you are graduated. But once that happened, now you are committed for that. That commitment, that's a mental makeup, that uh, psychological posture is created by these things. So a lot of these things are created for psychological posturing people that they should have. These things are created. And we need to respect them. Sannyasins come with their dharmadanda, and each dharmadanda has an optional way. And without that, they don't want to walk. In fact, one of the sannyasis was saying that just want to take a picture together with that. He said, bring my dharmadanda. I have to be with that. Without that, my picture cannot. You can take the picture without that. But why did he want it? Because basically that it is identification of his sampradaya that is there. So all these sampradayas are created, everything is created. Therefore, these are the things which Shankara himself has created, apart from the others created. So Shankara cannot have anything called as a less significance for these things. But basically, we need to understand the sampradaya is what is there based on whatever the knowledge that he has inside, whatever the realization that he has inside, that's what makes us sampradaya. Like, for example, Vishnu, he has taken and go to the highest level. Vaishnava Sampradaya is created. Like, for example, we have people like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all created Vaishnava Sampradaya. Similarly, that Shaiva Sampradaya, people have created the Shaiva Sampradaya because that with the concept of Shiva, they have reached the highest. Deep inside, they have reached the highest. But the Sampradaya is created from outside. The same way, if you think of it, maybe that Christianity, Islam also should have that kind of understanding that deep inside there is a realization, outside there is symbolism. The symbols are not an end in itself. Symbols have to represent what is there deep inside. Yes, we see that when we go to buy mango, we look at the color outside, we look at the smell outside, and we decide. And at that time, we come to a conclusion. Inside, there must be really wonderful mango. Mango, at least that you can see, but these days, uh, watermelon is there. Everything looks alike. But then somebody is there, expert in that, he says, yes, this watermelon is sweet. This is not sweet. Expert in what can say. So that means whatever that's there outside is not the end in itself. It's a very small, little insignificant part of it. But what is there inside is supposed to represent that. So that's what is the whole society. That's what is everything. That's the reason why we had given certain. I can give you one small little example in that region, in that context. I felt it was a fascinating kind of example. Way back in Tumkur Engineering College, they had made that students they can carry their their subjects even if they don't pass it they can carry. So there were people who are appearing for the subject which is their first year, second year, third year. They are in the final year, or they might have finished final year. After that, another 4 or 5 years they can still carry. So naturally, some of the students who are there and are the people who are elders, much elders, because 6 or 7 years of experience in the engineering college. And there is another unwritten truth about is the people who carry are the people who are wealthy people. That means they come in the car to the school and then college and then attend the class. And many of the teachers who are there appointed as, after immediately after the master's degree or some of them are PhD when they're even in their 30s, 20s. They're so young because they're very intelligent students and very, very hardworking. poor families, so they come back as teachers. So many times what used to happen is the teachers used to look like students, and the students would look like teachers. The principal who came there would look at the student and then salute, thinking that he is his own staff. So, and then he would ask, "What are you?" He said, "I'm third year student." Arey, he used to feel embarrassed. Whereas somebody used to say, and then go to the classroom, and he would say that I'm a teacher here, I'm a lecturer, professor here. Oh, that used to be so confusing because all these things. Then the principal thought there must be some way I should recognize this difference. And then you say that the teacher should have uniform, students should have uniform. Engineering college, nobody accepts that. You can create a hartal, like the way hijab comes, something that you can do. So he came up with a very simple, small little solution. I really like that solution. He said that every teacher should wear a tie. Student should not wear tie because nobody anyway wears tie. So students should not wear tie, but the teacher should wear tie. In the beginning, there was a discussion that went on, but the later on, what happened was the beautiful thing is that the teachers would put on ties. So naturally, when you put on the tie, your shirt has been tucked into the trousers, and because that you are tucking the shirt in the trousers and all that, you iron all those things. Otherwise, they would come without ironing. Now, with all those things, naturally, you have to wear shoes. You cannot come with a Hawaii slippers. So, naturally, what happened is that all these things have increased the level of the teacher. They have a greater heights. And because you tie, you come to the class with a tie and with this kind of a dress, neatly this and all those things. Naturally, you also teach a better teaching. You are a good teacher because you prepare for subject and come. Previous that was not necessary. See, one small little this code can create such a big change in the whole thing, and the students and teachers could be differentiated, and that college has really become very well after that. So that means to say, outside many times these attires are important, not only for world outside, but for himself also. That's why recently also that there is one occasion where Yogi Adityanath when he became first time chief minister, and then every chief minister would have his own car which costs about 3-4 crores of rupees and all that earlier. I said, come on, which car that is? He said, why? We have the car. No, that car is earlier. It's all right, it's okay. I can use that. Should we change the color? Should we change the upholstery? This, that. Why? Is it okay? It's okay. They were surprised. They said he didn't want anything, any change. And he asked finally, see, sir, you are a chief minister and you can spend money on that. So, and we are eager to spend the money. So please tell us. Then Yogi said, yes, I also want to spend money on that. You please spend that from the state. And what is that? He said, get a towel, Gerwa towel, and then put it on my seat so that whenever I sit in the car, I'm reminded that I'm a sannyasi. And not more than that, 200 rupees towel. That was his investment in the whole car as a chief minister. That was a kind of thing. That means to say, it's not the reminder for others, reminder for myself. So therefore, that all these symbols that are there externally, they have purpose for the world outside and for yourself. Many times what happens is that it is not for the world, but for the self. Because the inside, whatever that's the self, should reach that sat. And for that reason that we need to have all these things. And many times what happens is that you are in the path of journey. It's not that you are ultimate. Ultimate does not require any of these things. They're already there. Like Raghuramji did not have any dress code or anything like that. But the people in that path may have dress code. So therefore, the people who are on the path, that's why they have this dress code. What is the kind of dress code they have? First thing is that they take away their hair, which is supposed to be the sign for beauty, etc., etc. Now there is nothing to do with that hair. Second thing is wear a gerua cloth. There is no need for any other dress color. In fact, one of the sannyasis was telling me, ever since I've started, taken Diksha Sannyasa. I don't see any cloth shops on the street because I don't require it. That is the kind of thing that he is. So all these things are to see that the symbols are outside represent about two things. One is what your journey, the way that you are going. And second thing is the world also should recognize that you are in this particular journey. Therefore, that you are not, you are taken for, they understand what you are. It is not just only just Gerwaka, but various types of symbols indicate various things. We have seen that. Type of nama that you put it, type of jata that you put it, and the type of the way that you wear the dress also indicates all those things. These are all various things that are there. But then these things are very simple, very easy. You don't have to really do a lot of things. In fact, if that is supposed to be doing a lot of things, then what's the use of going towards the idea of Satya when you are so much caught up in the outside things? Because these days, some of the Swamijis, sannyasis, they are there. They are so much about the outside dress. They are so much about identified with that outside dress. In fact, some of these people I heard, even they use designers to dress, to give their dress. Wealthy people, people in the world, that they have the designers dresses and all that, I can understand it. To remove that kind of thing, only these things are created. But now they use these things also to see that how they can wear different varieties of special kind of things to see that high. But what is there inside? So that's why in this particular sutra, Shankara brings about Jatilo Mundi. There are people who have large jata. The idea of jata is that people are in the forest and they don't have any hair samskara. So therefore, what happens is that there is a particular herb which is the juice of that herb. When they put it on the hair becomes matted. Once the hair becomes matted, it's as good as thick as the skin itself, so that nothing can enter, nothing can bother, and it remains cool also. Otherwise, you just imagine the long hair that you have. Maintaining that hair is so difficult. So that's why this jata is something which is specially treated. That's beautifully shown in the Ramayana, where Rama was supposed to go to the forest. Before that, they apply that particular liquid for Rama's hair to see that it's done. For the next few days, years, 14 years, he used to maintain that. So this jata, or take away the hair. Both these things are different purposes and different kind of a thing. But various idea is the same thing, that you don't pay attention to your hair. Lunchitakil. What happens is that there are certain sampradayas, certain techniques where they try to pluck the hair. They try to pluck the hair because from the root, if you take away, then it is only one-time job. Otherwise, you have to go to the hair cutting every time, every 15 days, you have to go there and then get shaven. So don't do that. Therefore, the lunchita kesaha. This is something which is very popular in Jain Sampradaya. Jain Sampradaya, they try to pluck the hair. So lunchita kesha. They don't cut the hair. So kashaya ambara bahupita vesha. Kashaya ambara. That means to say they have the Derwa kind of a dress that they wear. That and bahupita vesha. Now here there can be so many different varieties of all those things are there. Pashyan napitana pashyati mudha udananimiktam bahupita vesha. These are the things which are essentially to see that the growth that takes place from within. The changes happen from within. It's for you to change. Outside, these things are very simple, very easy, but many times people do that for the sake of outside. How unfortunate it is. If they want to do for the outside, to please the world outside, are there not various other things that they are doing in the world? Different types of shops are there, different types of dress are there, kinds of things that are there, hair cutting saloons are there. All those things are there. And you are also doing same thing as what they are doing. In what way are you away from this world? That means your attention is about the world outside rather than what is there inside. And this another important idea is that the if you do these things, the world respects you. If you are not like anybody else, then you don't have that respect in the world. You are a common man. You are like an ordinary human being. But whereas when you have all this kashaya dress and all those things, and especially shaven head, all those things, then people will fall at your feet. A friend of mine who came from England, actually, he just seeking for the spiritual journey. He came to India young, and then because basically that he just wanted to be like that, so he has shaven his head, and then he put on simple kashaya cloths, which are cheapest cloths, and then he put on went into the temple in Kashi. It happened and sat down. People lined up to go in front of him, and then that day he cried. He said, "What? When I'm from the West, I came, people would follow behind me because I'm from West, my white skin, my talk, all those things would attract people. Now, not only I'm West, I've given up all those things. I'm wearing the kashaya dress and then without any hair. Now people lined up in front of me." And he said that this is the greatest of the cheating that I'm doing to the world outside. If one who realizes that inside the growth is something which is important, he does not cheat the world outside. Every small little simple thing that he keeps the world outside pains him, makes him feel something. In fact, he should have been, he, should, he was thinking that, he was saying that it would have been better he is like a common man, like a simple, ordinary human being, not like this way. I didn't want this kind of a thing. So that is the pain that you have within you. Not only that you don't feel pain about that, but you enjoy that. Your grandness. This is what is mudha. Pashyan napichanam pashyati mudha. This is very, very significant here in the sense that you know very well why these symbols are there. More than anybody else, you know about these symbols. And these symbols have become, you know very well that they are the world outside, but they're not inside. But then, in spite of the fact that you take the support, you only go for the impression of the world outside. Are you not mudha? You are mudha because the world outside people, they are common people, they are fine. They are not cheating anybody. If you want to cheat, you can be in the world outside. There you can cheat. The whole market is there. Do you have to wear these things? Do you have to come to this path to see that you cheat people? How unfortunate it is. That is, you come to a place where you want to be safe from all this negative kind of a mindset, but you are caught up in that negative mindset. That's what is the question of Pashan Napijan, Pashyati Mudha. He's Mudha. In fact, not only that, this another very important aspect is that the tapasya aspect. Tapasya means that you go through suffering. Somehow, people have translated that. My own view of tapasya is that you go through such a way that the whatever that is the divinity hidden within you comes out. For that you do. It's like, for example, a player early morning gets up and then does all the exercise. It's also like a tapasya. A musician sitting and practicing music is also tapasya. To see that the best within him comes out of it. So tapas can be anything. Tapas can be anything. So many different ways tapas can be there. But to see that the best within you comes out. For that you do it. It's not only one life, life after life after life. You are involved in the tapas. But then tapas is translated as suffering. So therefore, basically, some people translated suffering is spirituality. And they have picturized that way. Jesus suffered for everybody. How much reality that is there, we don't understand. But that's how people say that we suffered from that. Yes. So suffering becomes like a part of it. You go to because that you go through the suffering, therefore you feel great. You go to the hair cutting, that's how you cut your hair. It's all right once in 50 days you go, or once in a month you go have a haircut. That's a simpler thing. but then it's without any suffering. So you have to go through the suffering. That's why it is called as Keshalunchana. That means you pull the hair. Pull the hair is such a hard thing, such a painful thing. But you go through that. For what? For the sake of that, it's not going to give any spirituality. It's only gives you that pain. But then pain that you go through gives you a ego satisfaction. Ego satisfaction. Lunchita Kesha is like that. In fact, I came across one time that one of the Jain sannyasins said there was a big advertisement in the newspaper. Actually, that was the time I came to know that this sannyasin is going through this Kesha Lochana Samskara Maha Abhiyana, something, whatever it is there. So people are invited because he's undergoing that Kesha Lunchana. And there were some people with that scalpel that is there, or whatever that kind of, and they were picking his hair. My God. And for to see that there are millions of people out there is a great saint. Is a great saint. See, that means to say you are Vinchana is something which is supposed to be exhibited. Therefore, people consider you are a great saint. Whereas, what has happened? Therefore, Lunchita Keshaha. It is essentially to see that the beauty aspect of it is gone. Therefore, that you take out your hair. Vivekananda, when he went abroad, before that he was without any. He has shaved his head as a sannyasin does it. Went around the whole country with that. But when he went to USA and UK, he wanted to be like the people who are there. He didn't want to look at as a special caricature at that time. So therefore, there he was having a nice, wonderful crop, wearing nice, normal dress like anybody else. And then he was done. He never thought that he is a sannyasi, should not do all those things. So all these symbols do not become like your possessions. All the symbols do not become like uh, your, your I mean, something that you cannot come out of it. You can come out of it. It's for the sake of identification that you did this. But then many people, many sannyasis, they feel so caught up in this, unfortunately, so caught up in that. That's what the whole idea is, to see that Jatilo Mundi, Lunchita Keshaha, Kashayam Prabha. Somebody who is there established in the self, for him, Ambara itself is his Vesha. That's what we see that uh, Mahavir, he was so engrossed in the self, engrossed in that Sat, that he didn't wear the dress. He didn't have any dress to cover himself. But when he stands without any dress on him, you could see the beauty of it. You could see the divinity that's beaming out of it. Just because that Mahavir was like that, it does not mean everybody should be like that. It's not the idea. So therefore, basically, if you see, at least for the sake of all these practices together, for your growth, for your development, not for the sake of exhibition, not for the sake of manifesting in the world outside. So when we do that way, then inside, deep inside, whatever the divinity is there, that's what is Bhaja Govindam. When Mahavir was standing there without any cloth, you could see the compassion that was there in him. Because with that he stood there, that's what his Bahubali stood there. So it seems he was having one cloth around the waist and then he was walking. Because the wind, the cloth went and stuck in one of the plants with all the thorns that was there. He wanted to just drag back that particular cloth. But then while dragging, he saw the tree is being troubled, the shrub is being troubled. Suddenly he felt, I don't want to trouble this shrub. That extreme degree of compassion for that shrub that has come. And then he just left it like that and then walked naked. His nakedness has that wonderful message of extreme degree of compassion. It has got deep inside that Bhaja Govindam. Do we have that? Can we focus that? That's what Shankara says, that focus on that. If others standing naked, then you feel that drag, that nakedness, either it becomes like their ego, nobody else can stand naked, I can stand naked. Nobody else has got all this kind of signs that I symbol that I have this symbol, becomes like their ego. All these things are again the journey outside, nothing about inside. So Kashayambara Pashyatavisha, Pashyannapi Chana Pashyati Naraha. Though he sees many times all these things for what? Udaranimitam Bahuktavisha. Ultimately, all these things will simply be reduced to Udaranimitam. Somebody gives you food, somebody gives you this. And I've seen these people who have given up everything, Jains and all those things they've given up. But they don't have that compassion, they don't have that pleasantness, they don't have that love. So serious. And they look at people who are wearing dress and all that as if you are anywhere worth near to be near to me. That is the kind of thing. You just don't belong to us, that kind of thing. What an unfortunate thing it is. Not only that, when Mahavir was standing there without food, without the cloth, he was standing, but he was spreading fragrance. That's what the scriptures talk about. Whereas these people that who stand with that, you get the smell out of it because they don't use the proper soap, use that bath. Those things are not there. Angam galitam palitam mundam dashanavahina jatum tindam vruddho yati vibhitvadannam tadapanamunchatyashapindam. Padmapada, he is the person who has created the earlier sutra, and this one is created by Stotaka. Angam galitam, body is lean. The galitam, it is wearing out. Palitam mundam, that means to say the hair is becoming grey, or the hair is not there, it is falling off. Mundam. And then dashanavahina, jatam tundam. That means to say the mouth has become empty of the teeth. They fall off. They have got their own life. And vruddhaha yati guhitva dandam. They become standing on the support of the leg of the staff that they are standing. They don't have energy to stand. Sharira does not have. Tadapana munchatya shapindam. This desire is something that does not clear. You see, very important, the very significant sutra, what Totaka has given us is that, you see, the desire is basically based on your sensory organs. Just imagine the desires without any sensory organs. There is nothing like desire at all. Desire is based on sensory organs. I want to eat something, therefore that I have a desire to get. All those things were there when I was young, when I was growing up, at all those times that they were there. Objects were necessary, and then therefore was required, and people could go any length to pursue their desire. Like that. Somebody was there in our house, a young man. He came from, said, my mother-in-law was serving him food. He said that, can I give you one more glass of kheer? He already took 4-6 beers and all that, and I was saying, can I give one more kheer? He said, not in front of everybody. What will others? I'll come to you there separately. That was a capacity at one point of time that you have. Yes, you have all those things. Get. But then we should also recognize this body is something which is fading away. It goes away. And how many things which belong to this body fall off for a period of time? Childhood, we have so many things, but the moment you grow, all the childhood things are drop off. Adult, there are different things that are there. But basically, what happens is that Nature has the capacity to leave and then march ahead, go ahead. Nature is an ability, and the body is there. Then we one could recognize that this whole body is for a different purpose, different journey, not for the sake of only for the sake of body's requirement. And that journey is something which body is supposed to do. But when you do not allow this body to do that kind of a journey, holding on to the body, and that is when you say that this sutra says that the desire is something which is, desire is something what is very funny thing about the structure of desire is what you have already experienced, desire is based on that. If you have not experienced, there is no question of desire at all. You had already experienced, therefore the desire is there. That itself shows that you have already experienced. And second thing is that now you don't have, therefore that's what you desire. What you have, you don't have desire for that. What you have experienced, you come out of it, that builds up the desire. But what you have, you don't have the desire for that. You're looking for something different, something more. A rich man met with a beggar, and then this rich man wanted to show off. The beggar said, "There's no difference between you and me." A millionaire beggar said to him that, "Sir, there's no difference between you and me. We are in the same journey." He said, "What is that? You are a beggar and I am a millionaire." He said, "No, you are searching, I am searching for my first million. You are struggling for your second million. In the ladder, you may be a different level, but we both are the same." That means basically that 1 million is there. Now you are searching for, you are still struggling for. When do you stop? When do you end it? And in the process, what happened is that the instrument with which that you are working itself goes away. Instrument is not there, but still desire is there. I heard about one big man and about the name and it. All these things, desire for this, desire for that. Even after I leave, my name should be there. My recognition should be there. I will be remembered by the people. It seems that somebody has given a big lot of money as a donation to a university. And with a condition, he said, as long as I'm there, I should be uh, the chairman for that particular university board. So they agreed, and then because that big money is there, so therefore that he used to sit there, though he was very weak, he could not hear anything, could not see anything, but he was made to sit in the chair to see that the board meeting goes on with him. But even after he died, then that body is removed. They all removed the internal part, and that body is filled with some chemical substance, and then once again that body is kept there, and then they do the meeting with him, and he's always been the chairman. Body is not there anymore. Angam Galitam, Galitam Tundam, Dashanavahinam. All these things have happened. In spite of it, your desire to be the chairman of the campus will be there. If you want to do good to the people, just do good to the people. You want to help somebody, just do the help. Right? That moment, it's nothing to do beyond that. No desire at all. People think that it's cheap desire and noble desire. No desire is noble. Desire itself is something which you need to come out of. Let's think of it. Let's live that. When you recognize that, free from the desire when you are there, that's what is Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Modamate. 16 shloka we take up next week. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.